This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, August 8th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
5 soldiers were shot during an active shooter situation on Fort Stewart.
Shot and wounded 5 of his fellow soldiers.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
President Trump's special envoy has met with Vladimir Putin in Russia.
There's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Officials at UCLA say the university could lose $500 million in federal research money. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Gifford Fire is California's biggest blaze so far this year.
It's so hot back in there, and 90 degrees.
I'm Julie Walker.
Wall Street had solid gains Wednesday, led by Apple. Today, we'll find out how many people applied for jobless benefits. I'm Jill Schneider.
Jen Powell is set to become the first woman to umpire in Major League Baseball. I'm Geffen Coolbaugh.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Georgia's Fort Stewart went into lockdown on Wednesday after an Army sergeant on the military base shot 5 of his fellow soldiers. More on the story from Correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
The entire nation is praying for the victims and their families, and hopefully they'll fully recover, and we can put this chapter behind, but we're not going to forget what happened. We're going to take very good care of this person that did this horrible person.
In the latest act of violence on a U.S. military installation, 5 soldiers were shot during an active shooter situation on Fort Stewart.
What we know is this soldier, the shooting occurred at the soldier's place of work. It did involve his co-workers. We're still not certain about the motivations, but again, he's been interviewed by Army investigators, and we believe we'll gain more information.
3rd Infantry Division Commander Brigadier General John Lubas.
This morning, shortly before 11 o'clock, an active duty soldier assigned to Fort Stewart, Georgia, shot and wounded 5 of his fellow soldiers here on Fort Stewart. Thankfully, all are in stable condition and all are expected to recover.
General Lubas identified the shooter as a fellow soldier.
We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement, awaiting a charging decision by the Office of the Special Trial Counsel.
Of the 5 who were wounded,
3 of the 5 required surgical intervention.
General Lubas credited the quick reaction of surrounding soldiers.
I'd like to recognize and thank our Army law enforcement and medical personnel and our partners from local, state, and federal law enforcement and emergency services for their quick response and support. I would also like to thank the brave soldiers who immediately intervened and subdued the shooter. These soldiers, without a doubt, prevented further casualties.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Trump administration's worldwide tariffs have gone into effect. President Trump told European allies he's planning to meet with both Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky in person as soon as next week, after talks between Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Russian counterparts were deemed successful. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
President Trump's special envoy has met with Vladimir Putin in Russia days before the White House's deadline for Moscow to reach a peace deal with Ukraine.
But we had some very good talks with President Putin today, and there's a very good chance that we could be ending the round, ending the end of that road. That road was long and continues to be long, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
How close do you think you are to a deal?
Excuse me?
How close do you think you are to some kind of deal?
Well, I don't want to say. I've been disappointed before.
The Kremlin says Putin and Steve Witkoff met for about 3 hours. Shortly after it ended, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he spoke with Witkoff and there might be some announcements.
Maybe positive, maybe not. We'll see.
Hours after that, President Trump said it was a highly productive meeting with great progress.
We've made a lot of progress, and as you know, we put a 50% tariff on India on oil. They're the second largest. They're very close to China in terms of the purchase of oil from Russia. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but we've had very productive talks today.
A White House official had earlier said the U.S. is still expected to impose secondary sanctions against Russia Friday, when the president's peace deadline is set to end. Ukraine's leader says he and the president also spoke after the Putin-Witkoff meeting, but did not offer any details.
A number that just came out that a tremendous number of Russian soldiers are being killed. And likewise, Ukraine, a lower number, but still thousands and thousands of people. And now we're adding towns where they're being hit by missiles. So it's a lot of people being killed in that ridiculous war.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Smarter sleep is life-changing. Save up to $800 on select Sleep Number smart beds. Limited time only at Sleep Number. Among the stories we're covering next, United Airlines grounded and federal funding cuts to UCLA. Back after these messages. Welcome back, and thanks for listening. On where those heavy thunderstorms might erupt again today, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
We'll continue to have some of these tropical downpours and thunderstorms today from around the Norfolk and Virginia Beach area and the Tidewater of Virginia down along the Outer Banks of North Carolina, along the South Carolina coast and down through around Savannah, Georgia. That's where we'll have the best chance for some of those flooding downpours today, although there will be showers and thunderstorms really all across the southeast as we head throughout this Thursday. Now, across the northeast, we're going to see some spotty thunderstorms in interior parts of New England, a couple of showers back through parts of the Hudson Valley of New York as well. But a lot of the northeast is going to be dry today, and especially near the coast, we won't be seeing as many air quality issues with that Canadian wildfire smoke as recent days, as some of that's getting pushed more to the west right now. And we will be watching for some storms popping up over portions of Iowa, Wisconsin, even northern parts of Illinois as we head throughout the day. Best chance for severe weather today will be across Montana and North Dakota. Could be some hail and damaging wind gusts with some of those storms that do develop. But farther south through most of the rest of the plain states, it's going to be a pretty quiet day today. We're looking for a triple-digit heat through much of the plains. In the Four Corners region, some dangerous fire risk today. We're expecting a fire risk to remain high across Utah, western parts of Colorado, northern portions of Arizona. So that'll be the main concern in the west. We'll just have a couple of spotty showers in western parts of Washington. Outside of that, the west coast will be dry. And that's the weather across America. In Portland, Maine today, clouds and some sun at times, high 76. In Portland, Oregon today, less humid with sunshine returning, high 75. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Planes operated by United Airlines were grounded overnight after a major computer system outage. The FAA issued ground stops for all United flights, including at their hubs in Chicago, Newark, Denver, Houston, and San Francisco. FlightAware showed that over 1,000 flights, one-third of all United Airline planes, were delayed. UCLA is responding to funding cuts announced by the Trump administration, spurred by anti-Israel demonstrations and the way they were handled by administrators. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The Trump administration's investigating UCLA for alleged violations of civil rights, claiming the university failed to protect Jewish students and faculty from anti-Semitism during pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campus. The university president said this week that $584 million in federal research grants are at risk of going away. He said if the funds remain suspended, it'll be devastating for UCLA and Americans across the country. Officials with the University of California system say they plan to have talks with the administration. In a statement, officials said the cuts do nothing to address anti-Semitism, and they believe the steps the university's taken to protect Jewish students and faculty are being ignored. I'm Clayton Neville.
It's become California's largest wildfire this year, and it's still raging out of control. Correspondent Julie Walker reports firefighters are making small progress against the Central California blaze that's being fueled by dry conditions and the weather.
The Gifford Fire is California's biggest blaze so far this year, injuring 4 people, including a firefighter, burning more than 83,000 acres of coastal Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties, with just 9% containment as of Wednesday morning. Captain Scott Safecheck with Santa Barbara County Fire says weather is a factor.
It's so hot back in there, and 90 degrees, 90 degrees is a hot temperature, but when you couple it with the terrain.
He says they have a plan for some hard-to-reach areas.
The drive time to get firefighters on the line in the north is in excess of 3 to 3.5 hours. It's just so rural back there, and it's really hard to get back there that we're now opening a new base camp in Santa Margarita.
Meanwhile, Safecheck says substantial progress was made where the Gifford Fire meets the Madre Fire burn scar. I'm Julie Walker.
Fund managers expecting a market pullback, but by how much? When America in the Morning returns after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Thursday business is in. Here's CNBC's Jill Schneider.
Wall Street opens after a strong showing on Wednesday. The Dow added 81 points. The S&P 500 rose 45. The Nasdaq jumped 252, about 1.25%. Stocks have been choppy lately, suggesting to some that a pullback might be coming. Jonathan Krinsky, chief market technician at BTIG, agrees.
If you think about the structure of the market this year, the S&P peaked in February around 6,100 before the plunge into April. We broke through 6,100, and typically when you break through resistance, you do get a check back to kind of retest that support. And so we do think that's coming, into this August-September period. Again, that would only be a 5% pullback from highs. Nothing too substantial, but we think you'll get an opportunity to buy around 6,100.
The White House announced Wednesday it's imposing an additional 25% tariff on India for a total of 50%. The president says it's a response to India importing Russian oil. And today, about 70 countries will see new tariff rates kick in. Consumers and companies won't see an impact until October. Cargo currently en route to the U.S. will not be tariffed. Airbnb beat estimates for the second quarter. Revenue was up 13% year over year to $3.1 billion. Better than expected results from DoorDash, the food delivery service, said total orders increased 20% from a year earlier. Elf Beauty beat Wall Street's expectations on the top and bottom lines in its fiscal first quarter, but new China tariffs are weighing on its profits, which were down 30% from the year-ago period. Shares of AMD dropped 6% Wednesday after the chipmaker's earnings fell short of expectations and raised concerns about the timing of a restart in China shipments. Meanwhile, President Trump says he has no intention of backing down on his demands that AMD make its chips in the U.S. Here's AMD CEO Lisa Su.
We're very supportive of manufacturing in the United States. I think it's good for us to have resiliency across the supply chain. We have a very strong supply chain. It's really a global supply chain. We are actively moving some of our chips to the United States and Arizona. So, TSMC in Arizona is coming up nicely. We're one of the first companies to use it. That being said, it's a global supply chain, and it will take time to move all of that to the U.S. And, we continue to make sure that we're in active dialogue with the administration as we're going through this.
On today's watch list, we get earnings from Eli Lilly, Warner Brothers, Discovery, Papa John's, Ralph Lauren, Expedia, TripAdvisor, and Pinterest. We'll find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week. We'll get new productivity numbers. The Paramount Skydance merger is expected to close. NOAA updates its 2025 Atlantic hurricane season forecast.
CNBC's Jill Schneider. When we return on America in the Morning, a first for Major League Baseball umpires after these messages. More is being learned about a plane crash that's killed 4 people in Arizona. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
A medical transport plane crashes and catches on fire, killing 4 people. It happened on the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona. The Federal Aviation Administration says a CSI aviation company plane left Albuquerque, New Mexico, and crashed near the airport in Cheney, about 300 miles northeast of Phoenix. 2 pilots and 2 healthcare providers died. The crew was planning to pick up a patient from the Federal Indian Health Service Hospital in Cheney. Navajo Nation says the cause of the crash hasn't been determined. The National Transportation Safety Board and the FAA are investigating. I'm Mike Hempen.
History will be made in baseball this weekend when the Atlanta Braves host the Miami Marlins. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports on the first ever Major League female umpire.
Jen Powell is set to become the first woman to umpire in Major League Baseball when she works this weekend's games between the Miami Marlins and Atlanta Braves. The 48-year-old from New Jersey will work the bases in Saturday's doubleheader at Truist Park and the plate on Sunday. MLB's move comes 28 years after the gender barrier for game officials was broken in the NBA, 10 years after it ended in the NFL, and 3 years after the Men's Soccer World Cup employed a female referee. The NHL still has not had a woman referee. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 7th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Growing tension over redistricting in America. I'm Clayton Neville.
A new threat by President Trump regarding the District of Columbia.
We're going to have to federalize it.
I'm Richard Johnson.
U.S. relations with India have grown increasingly rocky. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A federal judge is considering arguments in a lawsuit filed to stop the Alligator Alcatraz project. I'm Jennifer King.
Criminal charges upgraded in a Washington, D.C. shooting. Robert Workman has sports. And who's entering the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame?
WhatsApp thins out nearly 7 million scam accounts. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. After a brief cool down for several days across parts of the nation, the heat is back. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
The heat and humidity are continuing to build across the Plain States, and that heat is going to be pushing eastward as we head throughout the next several days. Today we'll see high temperatures closer to 90 around Chicago, and then that 90-degree heat is going to slowly push eastward through the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley and eventually into the east as we get toward the end of the weekend and into early next week. But triple-digit heat today through really a lot of the plains today, from western South Dakota all the way down to Texas. Still a lot of heat in the desert Southwest as well. Phoenix up to 118 this afternoon. Palm Springs and Yuma up to about 117 for this afternoon. Even in the Los Angeles area into downtown LA, we're expecting highs in the mid-90s this afternoon. Now, as far as the rainfall goes, not a whole lot of it across the country. Much of the Southwest will be dry through the Four Corners region, areas that we could use some rain. High fire risk across Utah, western Colorado, northern parts of Arizona, into parts of Nevada as well. We will be watching for some strong to severe thunderstorms from Montana into North Dakota today. Another pocket of thunderstorms from Iowa, northern Illinois, up into Wisconsin. The main threat for flooding today will be in the southeast, especially toward the coast, from the Tidewater of Virginia down through the Outer Banks of North Carolina and all the way down through about Savannah. And we'll see some showers and storms through much of Florida as well. Still kind of unusually cool across parts of the southeast. High temperatures again only in the 70s around Raleigh and Charlotte with the clouds and the showers and storms. And overall, fairly comfortable day in the Northeast, not particularly humid. Highs will mostly be in the 70s and low 80s, and most of the time will be dry, where there will be a couple of spotty thunder showers inland. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The battle over redistricting appears to be intensifying in American politics. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
State Democratic leaders in Texas are out of the state. They have been since Sunday and will be until their quorum break is over. Otherwise, they run the risk of being arrested. as directed by Republican leaders.
If and when Democrats return within the boundaries of the state of Texas, they can be apprehended on the basis of those warrants and their attendance at the state legislature compelled. So that's why they had to flee out of state. They can't just hole up at home. They would be subject to arrest on the basis of those warrants.
Matthew Wilson's a political science professor at Southern Methodist University in Dallas and says Governor Abbott does have some room when it comes to removing Democrats from office, which he is moving forward with on House Minority Leader Gene Wu.
If an office is essentially vacant, if it has been abandoned, if a person who's been elected to office is not performing the duties of the office, then the governor is allowed to name a temporary replacement and call a new election for that position.
More than 50 Texas Dems spread out between New York, Illinois, and Boston, where they're meeting with Democratic governors and other leaders in that party. A scare for some staying in Illinois on Wednesday. A delegation of Texas House Democrats had to evacuate their hotel because of a potential bomb threat. Nothing was found, though, and the all-clear was eventually given. The tension being felt at the national level, not just in Texas. State Senator Boris Miles.
All it is another poll tax, another way to discriminate black and browns from voting in the state of Texas. But I want you to understand something. It's not just Texas. After Texas, it will be your state.
Some Texans also concerned, speaking out at hearings on the proposed congressional maps that Democrats claim discriminate against black and Latino communities.
House Republicans bow down to Trump like Abbott did, the other red states will follow. And if they do that, then America will be under assault.
Republican leaders in Texas getting aggressive in their attempts to return Democrats to Austin. They're calling for an investigation into potential bribes and money involved in the quorum break. State Attorney General Ken Paxton now looking into allegations that former Congressman Beto O'Rourke could be behind the money funding the move by Democrats. The proposed maps could give President Trump 5 additional seats in the midterms. I'm Clayton Neville.
The attack on a former DOJ employee over the weekend has sparked strong words from President Trump about the future of the government to the nation's capital. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports.
D.C. police say 19-year-old Edward Correspondent was assaulted by nearly a dozen teens early Sunday morning.
A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C.
That's how President Trump summed up the incident, which inspired him to post on social media and repeat for the mics and cameras yesterday what he's considering for the future of the District of Columbia.
Either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
I think it's a lot of chest beating on the part of the president.
Trial attorney Timothy Malone says engineering a federal takeover of D.C. would not be easy, but there are some things Trump could do.
Such as taking over the police department or pressuring Congress to nullify some laws. For instance, Congress nullified the D.C. criminal code revision a few years ago.
Malone's comments courtesy of WJLA. While the president could take over the D.C. Police Department, a full federalization would require Congress to repeal the 1973 Home Rule Act. That gave D.C. residents the power to elect their own mayor and council.
However, we do have a president that's kind of coloring outside the laws right now. And we have the Congress, Senate, and the Supreme Court makeup that he feels works for him.
D.C.'s non-voting representative in the House, Oya Oaloa, speaking to WUSA. He adds, while the president talks about crime in D.C., the new federal budget cuts spending on D.C. by more than $1 billion, money that Oaloa says could go to beef up public safety. I'm Rich Johnson.
Once friendly relations between the U.S. and India have soured this year and in the past 24 to 48 hours worsened after President Trump announced steeper tariffs on India for their purchases of Russian oil. As Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, there is outrage among a number of India's politicians, including members of parliament who blasted the new tariffs, audio courtesy of India's Asian News International.
Well, this is pure and simple blackmail by America. Having said that, it's surprising that we've reached this spot where we can be bullied around by a superpower.
If you say that India should not buy oil from Russia, can you provide oil at the same price as Russia is doing to us? Should we not look after our own interest? So we are not going to just give in to these kind of I would say, arm-twisting tactics, whether by President Trump or anybody else.
U.S. relations with India have grown increasingly rocky after an early show of friendship between their two leaders. 6 years ago,
you can hear the heartbeat of this great partnership.
There was Howdy Modi in Texas, and months later,
Namaste.
Namaste Trump in Narendra Modi's native Gujarat state.
My true friend, Prime Minister Modi.
But now,
he thought that he had a friend in Donald Trump.
Former Commerce Department official Ray Vickery says Modi's clearly stung by Trump tariffs and criticism for buying Russian oil. Policy experts wonder if the camaraderie is gone, which may put a strategic relationship between the world's biggest democracies in danger. One expert, though, says this may just be a vintage Trump pressure campaign, and given wild fluctuations in his policies, the relationship may return to high fives and hugs. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Environmentalists sue over alligator Alcatraz. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Federal hate crime charges have been announced for the man accused of opening fire outside of the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., resulting in the deaths of 2 Israeli embassy staffers. Lisa Dwyer reports.
The man accused of shooting 2 Israeli embassy staff members outside a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C., has been indicted on federal hate crime charges. The indictment against Elias Rodriguez has been unsealed and includes 9 counts, including hate crime resulting in death. It could clear the way for the Justice Department to potentially seek the death penalty. Rodriguez is accused of killing Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram in May, while reportedly shouting "Free Palestine" during his arrest. Prosecutors say Rodriguez planned the attack, flying from Chicago with a handgun. He allegedly confessed inside the museum after the shooting. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A judge will soon rule after environmentalists took their fight against the Florida Immigration Detention Center known as Alligator Alcatraz to court. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
In Miami, a federal judge is considering arguments in a lawsuit filed to stop the construction of the Alligator Alcatraz project. Environmental groups and the Miccosukee tribe are seeking an injunction, saying the build-out and operation of the Immigration Detention Center violates environmental laws and threatens the Florida Everglades. Witnesses spoke outside of court. Eve Samples is with Friends of the Everglades.
We're here bringing this case on environmental grounds, so that's the lane we're traveling in court.
Florida State Representative Anna Escamani says she told the judge what she saw on a tour back in July.
Building a detention camp in the middle of the Everglades is harmful, but also against federal law.
Attorneys for federal and state agencies have asked the judge to dismiss or transfer the request, saying the lawsuit was filed in the wrong jurisdiction. Miami-Dade County owns the airstrip land, but it's located in Collier County. A second lawsuit brought by civil rights groups says detainees' constitutional rights are being violated. A hearing in that case is scheduled for August 18th. I'm Jennifer King.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is hinting at wider military action in Gaza, even as former Israeli army and intelligence chiefs are demanding an end to the nearly 22-month war. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports the Jewish state is evenly divided on how to proceed, except for a nationwide call for the hostages held by Hamas to be released.
In an interview with Sky News aired on Tuesday, Israel's former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert urges Israelis to take to the streets.
I think that the time has come for the Israelis to show their opposition in not unclear terms, which means to go to the streets. I join in completely with what a former Prime Minister Barak said, the civil disobedience.
He spoke as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appears to be planning wider military action in devastated Gaza. Olmert adds the fact that the government is not having a majority in parliament is a result of the departure of some of the religious parties. I think this can make a difference. Among others speaking out have been former leaders of Israel's Shin Bet Internal Security Service, Mossad spy agency and the military, and also former Prime Minister Ehud Barak. The new pressure on Netanyahu comes as Gaza's health ministry says the Palestinian death toll has passed 61,000. I'm Charles de la Tesma.
Secure messaging service WhatsApp has been cracking down on people running scams, banning millions of accounts. Chuck Palm has details in today's Tech Report.
WhatsApp, the secure messaging service owned by Facebook's Meta, has just wiped out 6.8 million accounts tied to shady criminal scam centers. Since January of this year, WhatsApp has banned these accounts after sniffing out their links to scam hubs that are often run by crime organizations using forced labor. This is more than just your average spammers. These cyber crooks hit users across the platform like TikTok, Telegram, even ChatGPT, trying to dodge detection. They often use crypto scams, cash pyramid schemes, and even dating apps to slide into your WhatsApp DMs. Meta teamed up with OpenAI to shut down one particular scam in Cambodia that was pushing crypto traps and likes for Facebook and TikTok posts. WhatsApp also announced new features that'll keep you one step ahead of these scammers, giving you pop-ups and testing to make sure it's you before replying to sketchy messages. Kudos to Meta for trying to fight back, but with AI targeting users, it's getting harder every day to determine what's real. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
In with Thursday Sports on America in the Morning, here's Robert Workman.
Baseball Wednesday, the Blue Jays rolled over the Rockies 20-1. 24 hits, 5 of them homers, 2 from leadoff man Davis Schneider. Toronto with the best record in the American League. Gavin Williams of the Guardians held the Mets hitless until the 9th in a 4-1 win. The no-no and the shutout spoiled by Juan Soto's one-out solo shot in the 9th. Manager Stephen Vogt gave Williams all the rope he needed.
It was one of those things with a 4-run lead like that, you got to let him go. You don't know how many chances these pitcher's ever going to have to do it, so he was going to get to go the whole way.
Cleveland has not had a no-hitter since Len Barker's perfecto 44 years ago. Paul Goldschmidt's 7th-inning shot gave the Yankees a 3-2 win over the Rangers to end a 5-game losing streak. Nationals nipped the A's 2-1 on C.J. Abrams' walk-off RBI single. That snaps a 6-game skid for D.C. Royals ended the Red Sox 7-game winning streak with a 7-3 victory. Jonathan India with a big 3-run blow. Marlins topped the Astros 6-4. Xavier Edwards had 4 of Miami's 14 hits. The Fish beat Houston for the first time in their last 8 tries. Cubs salvaged 1 game from the Reds 6-1. Reliever Andrew Kittredge booed off the mound after taking Tuesday's loss, bounced back with an immaculate inning. 9 pitches, 9 strikes, 3 Ks. Cardinals over the Dodgers 5-3 despite Shohei Ohtani's 8 strikeouts on the mound and his 39th homer of the season, which was also his 1,000th hit in the majors. Rays shaded the Angels 5-4, 2 taters for Junior Caminero to give him 30 on the year. Mike Trout hit number 398 for his career, and even 200 of those at Angel Stadium. Padres rallied past the Diamondbacks. Giants came back to sink the Pirates. Wins for the Orioles, Brewers, Mariners, and Twins. NFL preseason week 1 begins with 3 games tonight, and golf's FedEx Cup playoffs begin today with the St. Jude Championship in Memphis. That's Thursday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, TV's South Park goes head-to-head with President Trump after these messages. This is America in the Morning. New inductees for the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame have been announced. Here's correspondent Ed Donahue.
Emmylou Harris and Brad Paisley are heading up the inductees for the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. Emmylou Harris is a country music Hall of Famer. She's won 13 Grammys and is considered one of the great American folk singer-songwriters. Harris's hits include Boulder to Birmingham and Wrecking Ball. Brad Paisley is a 3-time Grammy winner with 41 songs on the Billboard Hot 100. The new class also includes Steve Bogart, Tony Martin, Jim Lauderdale, and Don Cook. Induction is in October in Nashville. I'm Ed Donahue.
Actress Kelly Mack, known for her appearance in post-apocalyptic zombie drama The Walking Dead, has died following a battle with cancer. Mack held 35 actress and 5 producer credits during her career, according to a statement posted to Caring Bridge. She was best known for playing Addie in Season 9 of The Walking Dead and Penelope Jacobs in Season 8 of Chicago Med and on Fox's 911. Kelly Mack was just 33 years old. The folks over at South Park are pushing back against Donald Trump as they continue to parody the president and his administration in their comedy routines. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has that story.
The Comedy Central program South Park continues to ridicule the Trump administration, with this week's episode targeting ICE.
You can just shut up, baby, because you hate America and you love abortion.
On an all-new South Park, the series has had some very public words with the White House, starting with the season 27 premiere. This was after a long battle over broadcast rights against the backdrop of the cancellation of The Late Show. Some say that happened so the administration would approve the Skydance-Paramount merger, though the company says it was purely a financial decision. The season premiere of South Park addressed this.
The President of the United States canceled NPR. The government can't cancel the show. I mean, what show are they going to cancel next?
You really want to end up the culture? You guys gotta stop being stupid.
As part of the settlement, we also had to agree to doing pro-Trump messaging.
The show also portrayed the president in the same manner it did with Saddam Hussein years ago, literally in bed with Satan.
Satan.
You remind me more and more of this other guy I used to date.
What are you, some kind of dictator from the Middle East? A dictator from the Middle East? Hey, relax, guy. I'm gonna sue you.
On Tuesday, the South Park account on X posted a promo of the new episode, which is about Mr. Mackey getting a job with ICE. Later in the day, the Department of Homeland Security posted a screenshot of the promo with a website for people to join the organization. South Park then replied with the question, "Wait, so we are relevant?" A reference to the White House saying it hadn't been relevant for decades. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 7th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.